Welcome and welcome back everyone. It's almost 2025 and we're all looking for games to buy cheap that we will never, ever play. Luckily, I've picked out over 30 games to help you make some hard decisions, so buckle up. If you're new here, we'll go over 10 of the best deals and my personal picks in detail first, then do a big lightning round with some of the more obvious options and slightly less good deals. Anyways, we've wasted enough time already, so let's just get into it. Oh, and while you're here, you might as well subscribe. The first game I have for you today is Pacific Drive, a pretty cool indie game that might have flown under your radar. Despite the name suggesting Pacific Drive is a cozy, relaxing driving simulator, it is anything but. I'd say it's much closer to a survival or mystery experience than anything, but the game is pretty unique. Heavily inspired by Roadside Picnic, the source material for Stalker, Pacific Drive has you exploring the Olympic Exclusion Zone, an area of the Pacific Northwest touched by something supernatural. With relics and reminders of that event all over the area, you take shelter in an abandoned garage in an effort to scavenge, survive, and understand everything that was left behind. This is one of my personal choices this year and one of the ones that I picked up, and I can't wait to dive into it further. The game is lonely, sometimes a bit scary, and just really compelling. I expect a lot of people skipped it for some of the bigger releases this year, but this is an easy recommendation for me. Next up we have Hitman, which you've definitely heard of at this point. This version of Hitman is a bit older now, so I played some of it in the past, but I just picked it up on PC this year. The game is structured as highly replayable missions that ask you to either take out targets or complete other objectives. As the super serious story unfolds, you'll find yourself stealing a party clown outfit, or poisoning government officials, or throwing random waitstaff off of a building because they saw one of the last two, but you also don't have to do any of that. There are truly just so many absurd options and choices that you're able to make in every single level to complete your objective. It's like a puzzle. You can choose to have 5 pieces or 100,000 if you're up for the challenge. I do want to explain the pricing though, because it's a bit strange. Hitman World of Assassination is basically the 3 newer Hitman games in one package. Hitman World of Assassination Part 1 is $2.99, but it's essentially a glorified demo that you pay for. My recommendation would be to skip the Part 1 and go straight for the $27.99 package, which is the full 3 games. It's a bit confusing, I think intentionally, but the $27.99 edition is going to give you the best value and hours upon hours of content. My third choice is going to be Shadows of Doubt. Shadows of Doubt is very similar to Hitman in the way that the entire game is one big puzzle. However, the game is one contiguous open world, and each puzzle is always a 100,000 piece black square. Essentially, this is pretty much the most complex detective simulator I've ever played. Each crafted space is its own living environment, a city filled with buildings, buildings filled with businesses and NPCs, NPCs with friends, families, jobs, bank statements, phone numbers. It's insane. There are different options when starting a new game between a handcrafted case and one that's procedurally generated, and you can also choose between 3 maps or another one that is, again, procedurally generated. Using every tool at your disposal, you must work to solve a case with so many threads and leads while also avoiding the consequences of your own actions. You can be arrested, you can go to the hospital and get your insurance denied, and it just keeps going. There's so much here that I can't even properly sell it to you in such a short amount of time, so just go check it out for yourself. Believe it or not, the Dead Space remake came out almost 2 whole years ago, and right now it's only $15. But that's not because it's bad. We can argue all day if the survival horror royalty needed a remake or not, but the fact is, it's very good. With huge improvements in the game's detail and also now properly functioning on PC, Dead Space is as good as ever. For the somehow uninitiated, you play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer tasked with general repair work on the USG Ishimura, an enormous mining ship. From the time you arrive, the ship is in disarray and swarmed with necromorphs, horrific alien creatures spawned from human corpses. Dead Space is and always will be a classic, and this is the best way to experience it as a new player. Returnal is hands down one of my favorite games of all time, which is high praise, I know, but just hear me out. It's a AAA title, but it only made its way onto Steam last year, having launched in 2021 as a PlayStation exclusive. Returnal is a dark sci-fi roguelike with a heavy narrative focus. In the game, you play as Celine, an astronaut who has found herself caught in a time loop shortly after crashing on the alien planet Atropos. As you fight through strange enemies, bosses that defy understanding, and harness alien weaponry for your journey, you must search for a way off of the planet. If I'm being honest, very few games have struck me as profoundly as Returnal did back when I played it in 2021. It stuck with me so thoroughly, in fact, that I revisited game from the very beginning this year, and that feeling from my first playthrough came back. It might not be for everybody, but I think Returnal is very special, and 50% off a game this good can't be beat. Now we have Nuclear Nightmare, another co-op horror game in the recent wave since Lethal Company. However, Nuclear Nightmare is actually very good. The game is heavily inspired by The Thing. You and other researchers are stranded in a research complex in Antarctica, requiring you to travel via snowmobile, helicopter, or on foot to the different outposts to complete objectives in order to escape. Several of the monsters are very reminiscent of The Thing, as both dogs and players can get infected, and then there's some wacky original stuff thrown into the mix as well. You must scavenge for weapons and equipment while trying not to get infected, and the more you play, the more points you get to spend on perks and cosmetics. There's a lot in the game already, especially for the extremely low $2.79 price point, but the small dev team has some very ambitious plans for the game. Nuclear Nightmare is a ton of fun with friends, and I can't wait to see what the future has in store for the game. Our 7th game for the main show is Prey, a sci-fi immersive sim from the creators of the Dishonored series. Now, this was pretty high profile on release 7 years ago, but it's still entirely worth giving a chance, or maybe even revisiting this year. You play as Morgan Yu, an engineer who has found themselves stranded on a space station infested with alien creatures. Did we do this one already? The aliens are capable of mimicking objects. At any moment, a coffee cup or an office chair can transform, and this paranoia lends itself really well to the cerebral story of Prey. The game thrives off of its world, which is incredibly detailed and offers an abundance of options for every room, every level, and every enemy. With so many different progression systems and approaches available to the player, Prey is a fun, intriguing game from a studio we unfortunately won't hear from again. Next up is Rain World, another neat little indie game. Rain World is a nature-centric survival platformer centered around a dense ecosystem with a mysterious past. This is one of those games that's really special on a first playthrough, with its many discoveries meaning that much more when you find them yourself. For that reason, this is a game I can't say a whole lot about. It's beautiful, much more complex than it seems at first, and also very hard. In any case, check out Rain World. It's quite punishing and requires a lot of patience, but the people who love it really love it. SPORE is potentially the greatest game ever made, and I'm only half joking. You create a race, take it through several stages of development, from a small cell until it crawls out of the ocean, then to a small tribe, then a city, all the way into space. In each of these stages, the game's genre changes every single time, all while you dictate every single aspect of your species' design, from its physical attributes to each building in your city, stuff like that. Growing up, SPORE was a game I absolutely loved. Yes, it's pretty old now and really stupid, but the game is surprisingly deep and it's just so much fun. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice is the single best Souls game ever made. You don't have to agree, but I do ask that you give it a chance. Now, if you've conceded at this point that the Souls series is not for you, that's okay. However, even at full price, Sekiro is constantly on sale. It's just that good. Well, now it's 50% off, and I guess it's better late than never. That's going to be all for this year's main show, so now we have the lightning round. This is a bunch of games that are either a bit more obvious or not discounted quite as steeply. I know I went pretty quick on the last part, but I'm going to go even quicker, so pay attention. Lies of P is the 3rd best Souls game ever made. I will not elaborate. Raw Metal is a stealth game, intricate brawler, roguelike, and extraction game all in one. Forgive Me Father 2 is one of the most stylish and creative retro FPS games out right now. Animal Well is an excellent Metroidvania and the biggest snub at this year's Game Awards. Silent Hill 2 is a remake of one of the greatest survival horrors ever. Not a great discount, but still worth picking up in my opinion. Red Dead Redemption 2, on the other hand, is often called one of the greatest games of all time, and you can get it right now for just $20. Core Keeper is one of the best survival craft games in recent memory, and is sort of like a mix between Minecraft, Terraria, and Stardew Valley. Helldivers 2 is one of the best multiplayer games released this year, it just got a huge update and is currently 20% off. Control is a supernatural action-adventure game set in the Alan Wake universe, and it's really good. Metaphor ReFantazio is the newest RPG from the Persona devs. Persona 5 Royal is the 5th newest RPG from the Metaphor ReFantazio devs. Robobeat is a rhythm FPS game that actually allows you to import your own music, and I highly recommend this one. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is a bullet heaven set in the Deep Rock Galactic universe, which works shockingly well. It also has a bundle along with Core Keeper if you'd like to save on both. Doom 2016 is one of the best FPS games ever, and they're practically giving it away for free. BioShock the Collection is only $11.99 for 3 of the most acclaimed games of all time. Nine Souls isn't on a huge sale, but it's still a gorgeous Metroidvania with heavy Sekiro inspiration. The Binding of Isaac is just $5 right now, and one of the most important roguelikes ever, and it's still being updated to this day. The Metro Saga is $7 right now. $7! Much like the Bioshock collection, this type of deal should just be illegal, straight up. Intravenous 2 is a top-down stealth game, and it's just really well made. Check it out. Lastly is Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, my other favorite multiplayer game released this year. Again, this discount here isn't huge, but it's still well worth the price. But that's going to be all I have for you guys today. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, it helps out a ton, and if there's any good games I missed, please let me know down in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe for more, have a great night, a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, and I'll catch you all in the next one.